15 names, every single one of them had the game in their hands at some point. Albums that moved units, verses that changed how you thought about what hip-hop could be, moments that stopped the culture cold and made you remember exactly where you were when you heard it. And for every one of them, it ended in a casket or behind a cell door. You know these names, but do you know the full story? The version the industry doesn't bring up at award ceremony. The part that explains how a man selling out arenas one year ends up a case number the next. This is 15 hip-hop music stars who are dead or in jail. Let's get into it. Number 15, Mac Dre. Here's a name that means everything to some of you, because this story right here is where the injustice starts. Andre Louis Hicks, born in Oakland, raised in Vallejo, California. Before hyphy had a name, a sound, or a national audience, Mac Dre was already living it. I do like this. Put a look on my face like I smell. The energy, the bounce, the Bay's own gravitational pull on hip-hop culture. He was Thiz Nation before there was a Thiz Nation. The kind of artist who made you feel like the Bay operated on a completely different frequency than everywhere else, and that was the whole point. But here's what gets glossed over when people tell his story. Before the music ever blew up nationally, the FBI had already decided Andre Hicks was a problem they needed to handle. In 1992, federal authorities built a conspiracy case against him, what they called the Rock Squad investigation. He was 19 years old. The charge was conspiracy to commit robbery, not the robbery itself. He served 4 years in Lompoc Federal Penitentiary, and while he was locked up in a federal cell, his music was still moving on cassette on the streets of Vallejo. The culture doesn't stop just because the system removes the person. He came home, he built Thiz Entertainment from the ground up, kept making records that felt true to what the Bay was becoming. By 2004, the momentum was undeniable. November 1st, 2004. He's on tour in Kansas City, sleeping on his own tour bus, parked outside a hotel. Somebody pulled up and opened fire through the window. Mac Dre was shot and killed while he was asleep. He was 34 years old. Nobody has ever been charged. No arrests. Over 20 years later, his murder is still officially unsolved. The FBI spent years building cases against this man, couldn't take him down, and the streets handled what the government started. If you're from the Bay, you already know what I mean, and if you're not, go listen to Feeling Myself After This, then you'll understand the weight of what we lost at number 15. Number 14, Big Pun. There are rappers who are great, and then there's that rare thing an artist who makes every other rapper stop what they're doing and just listen, not out of courtesy, out of recognition. That thing where you hear somebody and your whole understanding of what's possible in the art form shifts. Big Pun was that thing. Christopher Rios, The Bronx, New York. In 1998, he dropped Capital Punishment. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. And the verse on Did in the Middle of Little Italy, multi-syllabic rhymes stacked 7 and 8 deep, flowing at a density and a precision that felt physically impossible. That one verse alone put him in conversations with the absolute elite of the sport. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Eminem talked about it. Jay-Z was watching. The best in the game were taking note, and he became the first Latino rapper to ever go platinum as a solo artist. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. That wasn't just a personal achievement, that was a cultural milestone for an entire community that had been waiting for that moment. But here's what the cameras mostly stayed away from. By the time capital punishment dropped, Big Pun was fighting a battle nobody in the industry was talking about publicly. His weight had climbed towards 700 pounds. He was in pain. And there are documented accounts from his wife, Liza, of violence inside their home, a side of his life that the music business saw and largely chose not to address. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. The people around him, management, the label, the industry machine watched it happening in real time, and the system didn't stop it. February 7th, 2000, cardiorespiratory failure caused by morbid obesity. Christopher Rios was 28 years old. He left behind a wife and 3 children, and the royalties that should have protected his family became a whole separate legal fight after he was gone. He was the first, the greatest Latino rapper in the history of the art form by any reasonable standard. And he was gone before he turned 29. That gap between the promise and the reality, that's going to be a theme today. Real talk. Only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 13, Shyne. December 27, 1999, Club New York in Manhattan. 3 people are shot, and only one man's career and freedom pays the price. Jamal Barrow, born in Belize, raised in Brooklyn, was 21 years old and one of the most anticipated new voices in rap. People were comparing his flow, his weight, his presence to Biggie. Bad Boy Records had him signed to a major deal. His debut album was in the works. The whole runway was laid out in front of him. That night, he walked into Club New York with Sean Puff Daddy Combs and Jennifer Lopez. A confrontation broke out. Someone allegedly threw money in Diddy's direction, a disrespectful gesture. It escalated fast. Gunshots. 3 bystanders hit. Diddy and Jennifer Lopez were both arrested, then they made bail. In the trial that followed, Puff Daddy was acquitted on all charges. Jennifer Lopez walked, and Shyne was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon. Sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, he served 8 years. And here's where this story connects to everything that's come to the surface since 2024. One of the shooting victims, Natanya Rubin, who was shot in the face that night, has said for years, consistently, that it was Diddy who fired the gun that hit her, not Shyne. In a Hulu documentary released in 2024, Shyne confirmed publicly what many had suspected. He was the fall guy, that his lawyer and Diddy's lawyer were working in coordination, that the outcome of that trial was arranged, and it wasn't arranged for Puff Daddy to pay the price. He got out in 2009. Immigration detained him immediately. Then they deported him back to Belize. He is permanently banned from entering the United States. The rapper who might have been innocent, exiled. The man who might have fired the shots threw the parties for 25 more years. Shyne rebuilt his life. He's a politician in Belize now, opposition leader, member of parliament. He moved on, but that wound doesn't close, and it shouldn't. Number 12, Proof.
Me now, you try it, it'll be them doors. Andre's fan and believe me, clowns. That means suicide.
At the funeral, Eminem stood up in front of 4,000 people and said it plainly. Without proof, there would be no Eminem. There would be no Slim Shady. There would be no D12. Deshaun Holton, Detroit, Michigan, born October 2nd, 1973. The one who built the cypher culture that made Eminem credible before Eminem was famous. The one who put him in front of the right rooms on the battle scene, vouched for him in the streets of Detroit when nobody outside Michigan knew the name. Proof wasn't just a hype man, he was the foundation the whole thing was built on. You may be gone, but you're never over. And the Detroit community knew it, loved him for it, respected him at a level that had nothing to do with Eminem's fame. He was his own force, D12's anchor, the most genuinely beloved figure in that entire scene. April 11, 2006, 4:30 in the morning. The CCC Club on 8 Mile Road, the same street that Eminem's movie made iconic. A fight started over a pool game. It escalated, and by the time it was over, Proof was shot in the head, rushed to St. John Connor Creek Hospital, pronounced dead on arrival. Deshaun Holton was 32 years old. Here's the complication the full story requires. Reports indicated that Proof also fired his weapon during the altercation, that he shot a man named Keith Bender Jr. in the head during the confrontation. Bender died 8 days later. The bouncer who shot Proof was Bender's cousin and was later ruled to have been acting in defense of a family member. So this wasn't a simple story of a good man shot for nothing. It was a night where everything went wrong simultaneously, with violence on both sides of it. I'd rather celebrate your life, elevate to new heights, step on the gas and accelerate. Eminem admitted later that he was high at Proof's funeral, that the grief broke something in him and sent him into the addiction that nearly killed him too, and that Proof had been his best man at his wedding to Kim Mathers just 3 months before this night. One argument over a pool game, and hip-hop Detroit never looked the same again. Number 11, Big L. You want to talk about a case that's never been closed, that the culture still circles back to with the same frustration it had 25 years ago? This is it. Lamont Coleman, 139th Street, Harlem, New York. One of the most technically gifted lyricists who ever picked up a microphone, not in the conversation with the absolute best of his era and maybe all eras. The punchline density, the wordplay, the multi-syllabic flow that made the most complex rhyme patterns sound effortless when they were anything but. Ebonics, put it on, flamboyant. If you know, you know. And if you were ever in the barbershop debate about whether Big L would have been in that first tier with Jay, with Nas, with Biggie if he'd lived, you already know which side you're on. Drop your answer in the comments on this one, because I've had this conversation 100 times and it never ends. He'd signed early to Columbia Records, but that deal ended. By the late 90s, he was rebuilding independently. And according to multiple people close to him at the time, he was on the verge of inking a major deal with Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z's label, that would have put him exactly where his talent said he belonged. February 15th, 1999, 139th Street and Lenox Avenue, Harlem, his own block, the neighborhood he'd been rapping about and building in his entire life. Big L was shot 9 times. He died at the scene. He was 24 years old. No arrests, no convictions, and some of the people who've studied the case believe the violence wasn't even directly about Big L, that it was connected to his older brother Donald, who had his own street history, and that Lamont caught something that was meant for someone else entirely. 9 shots on his own block. 26 years later, nobody has been held accountable. And if that part doesn't sit right with you, you're not alone. Number 10, Mystikal. Michael Tyler, New Orleans, Louisiana. Came out of the same No Limit era as C-Murder, Silk the Shocker, the whole Master P empire. But Mystikal had something different. A delivery that was so physical, so urgent, so completely alive that people reached for James Brown and Little Richard when they described him. And that wasn't a stretch. Multi-platinum, Grammy nominations, Ludacris put him on Move Bitch, Lil Jon grabbed him for records. He was one of the most distinctive voices in the game, and his energy crossed over in ways that Southern rap was just starting to do at scale. And then the choices started catching up with him. 2003, Mystikal is indicted for sexual battery. He and 2 bodyguards forced his hairstylist to perform sex acts after accusing her of stealing from him. The incident was on video. He pleaded guilty. January 2004, sentenced to 6 years in state prison. He served the full sentence, registered as a sex offender upon his release in 2010. He tried to come back. The music was still in him. The energy hadn't left, but the reputation was damaged in ways that can't be undone. 2022, new arrest, new charges, first-degree rape and domestic abuse by strangulation in Ascension Parish, Louisiana. He's been held without bond since July of that year. As of March 2026, Mystikal entered a guilty plea on the rape charges and now faces up to 20 years in prison. A third serious sexual assault case, a potential life sentence that was reduced only because of a plea deal. This is the tragedy that runs parallel to the talent. 2 things can be true at the same time. The music was real. What happened to those women was also real. And this is what the end of that career actually looks like. Not a comeback story, not a redemption arc, a plea bargain and a cell. Number 9, C-Murder. Went to jail trying to get paid, still on a rampage, jumping behind some bushes. Corey Miller, New Orleans, No Limit Records. The Tank. If you came up in the No Limit era in the late 90s, you know what that tank on the album cover meant. You know what that family meant. Cause them Holocaust days is over. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep. And C-Murder, despite living in the shadow of his older brother, Percy Master P. Miller, had genuine talent. Life or Death went platinum in 1998. Down for my ends. Bossolini, he wasn't riding coattails. He was building his own lane. I'm bumping heads with the Reaper on a daily basis. January 12, 2002, a nightclub in Harvey, Louisiana. A 16-year-old fan named Steve Thomas was shot and killed. Police named Corey Miller as the shooter. Niggas make the world go round, pick up the Black History book and can't seem to put it. August 14, 2009. After 2 trials, C-Murder was convicted of second-degree murder, life in prison without parole. He has been at Louisiana State Penitentiary ever since. Now here's where this gets complicated. 5 years incarceration. If I pull it, bring the yellow tape. Niggas can't overcome my book. In 2018, both key witnesses who testified against him recanted their statements. They said police held them, pressured them, threatened them with criminal charges of their own if they didn't identify Miller. The only physical evidence at trial was eyewitness testimony. No DNA, no weapon traced directly to him. Kim Kardashian took up the case and went public with it. Monica, who was with him at the time of the arrest, has pushed for his freedom for years. Master P has expressed frustration with the system repeatedly. February 2026, Just weeks ago from this recording, the Louisiana Supreme Court denied his latest appeal unanimously.
Black leaders getting struck down at their peak. Open your eyes, that unliberated.
Corey Miller maintains his innocence. He is still in that cell. Every appeal has been shut down. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. Whether he did it or didn't, two men said on record they lied on the stand.
True nigga visualizing fools dying quicker. Murders in the heart of every killer.
And the courts decided those recantations weren't credible. Somewhere in that gap between those two positions is a man who has been there since 2002. Whether that's justice or not, I'm going to let you sit with that one.
Soldiers, you ain't died for nothing. Read the Bible, say every death means something.
Number 8, Pimp C. To understand what losing Pimp C meant, you have to understand what UGK meant to the South, not as a historical footnote, as the blueprint. The reason an entire generation of Texas rappers understood their own identity and their own sound. Chad Butler, born December 29th, 1973 in Crowley, Louisiana, raised in Port Arthur, Texas, half of Underground Kings with Bun B. From their 1992 major label debut through Riding Dirty through Big Pimping with Jay-Z, in 2000 UGK built a body of work that existed completely on its own terms. They didn't need the mainstream to validate them. The South already knew. Then in December 2000, Pimp C allegedly threatened a woman at gunpoint at a mall in Houston. He violated his probation. In 2002, he was sentenced to 8 years. He served about 4 released December 2005. He came home, immediately went back to work, and what came next was the payoff for everything they'd built. August 2007, UGK's self-titled album drops and debuts at number 1 on the Billboard 200, number 1 on the hip-hop and R&B charts. International Players' anthem, I Choose You, featuring Outkast, becomes one of the greatest rap collaborations of the 2000s, the biggest moment of their entire career. After 15 years of building, they were finally sitting at the top of the game. Pimp C had 4 months to feel it. December 4th, 2007. He's staying at the Mondrian Hotel in West Hollywood, working on new music, had just performed with Too Short. His wife called the hotel to check on him. They found him unresponsive in his room. He was 33 years old. Cause was an accidental overdose of promethazine and codeine, lean combined with undiagnosed sleep apnea. The drug suppresses your respiratory system. The apnea meant his airway was already compromised in his sleep. He never woke up. 15 years of work, 1 #1 album, 4 months. Number 7, Old Dirty Bastard.
The type of pain you couldn't even kill with might or what? Round gets sprayed with light.
If you were a hip-hop fan in the 90s, you have an ODB memory, a specific one. Maybe it's the 1998 Grammy Awards Wu-Tang, losing Best Rap Album. And ODB walking onto the stage mid-broadcast during Sean Colvin's Song of the Year acceptance speech, grabbing the microphone and telling the world that Wu-Tang is for the children. The entire country stopped for 15 seconds to process what they were witnessing. Maybe it's the time he got in a limousine with a camera crew and went to collect welfare while he was on the Billboard chart. Maybe it's the jail escapes, the car crashes, the drug treatment program. He literally walked out of mid-treatment. The chaos was not performance, it was real. And the tragedy is that it was real. Russell Tyrone Jones, Wu-Tang Clan, born in Brooklyn, November 15, 1968. His place in hip-hop is sealed by the music the chaotic genius of his voice across every Wu-Tang record he touched. The art was genuinely unlike anything before or since, but underneath the legend was a man with a serious documented addiction.
Mad styles, I seen and heard, no one knows, you forget.
Multiple arrests, time at Rikers Island, in and out of rehabilitation programs, court-ordered into treatment by 2004. The people who loved him could see what was building.
If I move too quick, oh, you just won't know. I'm homicidal when you're into the...
November 13th, 2004. Daddy's house recording studio in Manhattan. He collapsed, was rushed to a nearby hospital, pronounced dead before they could revive him.
I keep MCs looking out. I drop signs like Crosby dropping babies.
The cause was an accidental drug overdose, cocaine, combined with the prescription painkiller tramadol. He was 35 years old, 2 days before his 36th birthday.
Down, then watch me put the low down.
ODB is not a cautionary tale. He was a human being who deserved more protection than the industry gave him. The machine that profits from genius does not always invest in saving genius.
Step to my motherfucking rap. Blow, 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 blown to death.
The laughter around his story, the memes, the highlight reel of chaos, none of that fully acknowledged what the loss actually cost. The children he left behind would tell you that, and the Wu-Tang family felt it at a level the rest of us can only approximate.
Niggas be quiet as cat. Now you know nothing before you know a whole block.
Number 6, Slick Rick.
Punched him in his belly and he gave him a slap. But little did he know the little boy was...
Here's a name that doesn't come up enough in foundational conversations, and that omission is itself a kind of disrespect. Ricky Wallace, born in London, England, January 14, 1965, raised in the Bronx.
Dead. Deep in his heart, he knew he was wrong, so he let the lady go and he starts to run.
The eye patch, the gold chains, the storytelling. If you want to trace the exact DNA of narrative hip-hop, the long-form story within a verse format, the character voices, the scene setting, the detail it runs directly and specifically through Slick Rick's 1988 debut, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick.
They did the job, money came with ease, but one couldn't stop, it's like he had a disease.
Children's story, Lottie Dottie with Doug E. Fresh, the art of building a complete world inside a 3-minute rap song that was Slick Rick's invention. Every rapper who ever painted a picture with words learned something from this man's approach.
Escaped alive, though the car was battered, rat-a-tat-tatted and all the cops.
And then his own story turned into something that threatened to erase him. A cousin and former associate came at him with what Rick described as threats and extortion attempts. The confrontation escalated. Shots were fired. Rick shot his cousin and a bystander. Sentenced to 3 to 10 years, served approximately 5, paroled in the mid-90s. And here's the part that doesn't get told enough. Because Rick was born in England and came to the United States as a child, he was not a U.S. citizen.
Knocked an old man down and swore he killed him. Then he made his move to an abandoned.
Every time he ran into legal trouble, every parole violation, every arrest, the federal government tried to deport him. Not back to a country he chose, back to England, a country he barely remembered.
He was only 17 in a madman's dream. The cop shot the kid, I still hear him.
ICE detained him, held him in deportation proceedings multiple times over multiple years. The man who helped invent the art form was being threatened with permanent exile from the country he built his entire life and legacy in. The fight went on for years.
He robbed another and a sister and a brother. Tried to rob a man who was a DT.
Def Jam, legal advocates, community pressure, it took all of it. Eventually, by the late 2000s, Slick Rick was granted U.S. citizenship. He could have been erased from American music entirely, sent away, and never brought back.
Ran out of bullets and he still had static. Grabbed the pregnant lady and pulled out the order.
And the fact that the culture had to fight that hard just to keep him here, that says something about how this industry treats the people who gave it its foundation. He's still here, still respected, still due more credit than most lists give him.
Me and you tonight, we're gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making the...
Number 5, Suge Knight.
So turn off the lights and close the doors. But what? We don't love them, no.
When you talk about Death Row Records from 1992 to 1996, you're talking about the most powerful concentrated moment in West Coast hip-hop history. Dr. Dre's The Chronic, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, Tupac's All Eyes on Me. That level of creative dominance and commercial control artists that were not just selling records, but reshaping the entire sound of American music that happened.
With so much drama in the LBC, it's kind of
because of one man who nobody in that building said no to. Marion Suge Knight, Compton, California, co-founder and CEO of Death Row Records, the man who created the infrastructure for gangster rap's global moment, and the man who was sitting in the front seat of the BMW when Tupac Shakur was shot in Las Vegas. Suge had his own legal run-ins throughout the death row years, probation violations, time served, but nothing that ended things. January 29, 2015, near the set of the Straight Outta Compton biopic in Compton. A confrontation broke out involving Suge and a group of people connected to the production. Suge got in his pickup truck. He ran over two men, killed a man named Terry Carter, injured a second. He left the scene. Security cameras caught it.
Laid back.
Suge's legal team argued self-defense. Prosecutors argued he followed those men to the location with intent. September 2018, Suge Knight pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter. Sentenced to 28 years in prison, California's 3 strikes law, given his prior felony record, made that sentence rigid. At his sentencing, he told the judge he expected to die in prison. March 2025, his attempt to have the conviction overturned was denied by a Los Angeles County judge who called his reasons for the late filing insincere. He is currently housed at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. Parole eligibility, October 2034. He will be 69 years old, the man who built Death Row, who signed Tupac Shakur, who was in that car the night everything changed. He's going to be in that cell for years, if he makes it out at all. Number 4, DMX. There has never been an entrance into hip-hop like the one Earl Simmons made. 1998, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, debuts at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Less than a year later, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, number 1 again, 1999. And then there was X, number 1 again, 2001. The Great Depression, number 1 again. 4 consecutive debut weeks at the top in under 3 years. Nobody had done that. Nobody has done it since. But here's what those numbers don't tell you. Earl Simmons was introduced to crack cocaine at age 14 by someone he trusted, a mentor figure, an older person who was supposed to be guiding him. And that first exposure at 14 years old set something in motion that DMX spent the next 36 years of his life fighting. Every album, every comeback, every church moment, and every court date, he served time more than once. Drug-related charges, weapons charges, animal cruelty charges. In 2019, he was sentenced to 1 year in federal prison for tax fraud. He served it every time it looked like the comeback was going to hold, and it always felt like it could hold with X. Because that voice, that rawness, that belief were still absolutely present. Something pulled him back toward the edge. April 2nd, 2021, cardiac arrest at his home in Yonkers, New York, cocaine-induced, according to the reports. He was placed on life support. For a week, the entire hip-hop community just held its breath. Checking phones, hoping for different news, praying for a man who had never stopped showing up despite everything life had done to him. April 9th, 2021, Earl Simmons was pronounced dead at White Plains Hospital. He was 50 years old. the children he left behind, the music that still sounds like nothing else made before or since, a story about addiction and childhood trauma that starts at 14 and ends in a hospital. We're gonna make it. That was the DMX energy every single time, and for a while, every single time it felt true, until it wasn't.
In a minute, you're gonna have grandma being the only family member left. Bust my.
Number 3, Eazy-E. January 1995, Eric Wright goes to a doctor. He's been short of breath for weeks. He thinks it's asthma. He's told he has AIDS, and he's been diagnosed in its final stage. He has weeks. Eric Eazy-E Wright, born September 7, 1964, Compton, California. The man who bankrolled N.W.A, who pushed Straight Outta Compton out the door when people said it was too raw, too dangerous, too honest for the market. The man who built Ruthless Records and created the infrastructure that gave Dre, Cube, Ren, Yella, all of them the platform to change hip-hop forever. The bravado of gangsta gangsta, the toughness, the persona that communicated that nothing could touch him. That he was operating outside the rules everyone else lived by. And then one visit to a doctor removed all of it. He announced his AIDS diagnosis publicly on March 16, 1995. 10 days later, on March 26, 1995, Eazy-E died of AIDS-related pneumonia. He was 30 years old. He went from a hospital visit to his death in weeks. Now here's where it gets more complicated. Eazy-E reportedly had numerous sexual partners throughout his career unprotected, according to accounts from people around him. And in the years since his death, his son Eazy-E Jr. has repeatedly and publicly stated his belief that his father was deliberately infected. This wasn't bad luck, that it was done to him. That allegation has never been proven. The mainstream moved past it quickly, but the people who loved Eric Wright have never fully made peace with how fast it happened, how a man who seemed completely untouchable was gone in weeks. How the most visible figure in gangster rap, the genre built on the idea that you could survive anything if you were hard enough, was taken down by a virus that none of the bravado could protect against. N.W.A. defined an era. And the man who funded the whole thing, who took the financial risk when nobody else would, was the first one gone. He was 30 years old. The era he built continued without him. Number 2, Notorious B.I.G. March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles, the Soul Train Music Awards after party at the Peterson Automotive Museum on Wilshire Boulevard. Christopher Wallace leaves the party. He gets into a GMC Suburban. A dark-colored Chevrolet Impala pulls alongside them at a red light. 4 shots fired. Biggie takes 4 bullets to the right side of his body. The Impala drives away. He's rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Pronounced dead at 1:15 in the morning. He was 24 years old. Life After Death, his double album, the one that was supposed to be his next chapter, was released 16 days later. The album was called Life After Death. He was already gone. Christopher Wallace, born May 21st, 1972, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, the greatest pure storyteller the East Coast ever produced, depending on who you ask in that barbershop. Are ready to die. Mo money, mo problems, hypnotized. A voice that could go from menacing to vulnerable inside the same verse without losing the thread. Humor and grief occupying the same line.
And if you don't know, now you know, nigga.
a gift for character and detail that made everything he described feel like you were standing in it. He and Tupac had been friends, genuinely close at first. Then Bad Boy versus Death Row became bigger than either of them could control. The media made it a coast war, and both of them were trapped inside a narrative that neither one had authored. The LAPD investigated, the FBI investigated, the LA Sheriff's Department investigated. Multiple theories, a Crips member named Poochie, connections to corrupt LAPD officer David Mack, internal death row politics. Every lead eventually went cold. 28 years, 0 arrests, 0 convictions. Valletta Wallace, his mother, has never stopped pushing for answers. She has spent nearly 3 decades trying to get someone to account for her son's death.
And if you don't know, now you know, nigga.
The greatest rapper who ever lived, depending on who you're talking to. And the city that was supposed to celebrate him that night became the city that never solved his murder. Number 1, Tupac Shakur.
From a jail cell, and who thinking elementary? Hey.
September 7, 1996, Las Vegas, Nevada. Mike Tyson just knocked out Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. Tupac Shakur was there in the front rows. The night was electric in the way only a Tyson fight in that era could be.
I moved out, started really hanging. I needed money of my own.
Then in the lobby of the MGM Grand, surveillance cameras caught something that would matter later. Tupac and Suge Knight's entourage, including a man named Orlando Anderson, a member of the Southside Crips, in a confrontation.
When I was sick as a little kid, to keep me happy, there's no limit to the thing.
A fight breaks out. Tupac and members of the death row camp jump Anderson. It ends quickly. The group moves on toward Club 662. Later that night, driving in Suge Knight's BMW, a white Cadillac pulls up beside them. Gunshots.
Hey, I see the penitentiary one day, running from the pole.
Tupac Shakur was shot 4 times. He survived the immediate shooting, taken to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, placed in intensive care. 6 days later, September 13th, 1996, at 4:03 in the afternoon, Tupac Amaru Shakur was pronounced dead.
You see you coming home after work late. You're in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot.
He was 25 years old, Lizane Parrish Crooks, born June 16, 1971, in New York. The son of Afeni Shakur, a Black Panther activist who was on trial for conspiracy while she was pregnant with him. Raised in Baltimore, then Oakland.
Take my mama's place, suspended from school. I'm scared to go home, I was a fool.
A man who contained multitudes in a way that almost no public figure before or since has managed, who made Dear Mama and Hit 'Em Up in the same year and made both feel completely necessary. He'd already been to prison, convicted of sexual abuse in 1994, and sentenced to 4.5 years.
Hung around with the thugs, and even though they sold drugs, they showed a young brother.
Suge Knight posted his $1.4 million bail and signed him to Death Row Records from that prison cell. Then came All Eyes on Me, the first ever double album in hip-hop history.
And Dear Mama.
Then The Don Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory, recorded under the alias Machiavelli in 3 days, both released before his death. The catalog was building faster than even he could explain.
Though back at the time, I never thought I'd see a face. Ain't a woman alive that...
In interviews before September 1996, Tupac said more than once that he didn't expect to live to see 30, like he was living inside the story and could already see the ending. In 2023, a man named Dwayne Keffy D. Davis was charged with murder in connection with Tupac's death.
Heartless, but all along I was looking for a father, he was gone.
The first arrest in 27 years. Legal proceedings are ongoing as of this recording. The full account of what happened that night, who gave the order, what Suge Knight knew, what the investigation covered up, and why has never been fully laid open to the public.
Cause through the drama I can always depend on my mama.
And the culture has been living with that incompleteness for almost 30 years. 25 years old, 5 studio albums in 4 years, film career, political consciousness, a catalog that somehow gets bigger every year it lives without him.